Hello, welcome to the Psychic Soul Healer channel. My name is Laura, and I am going to do a reading for my Aquarius people. Now, folks, my readings are a little bit different. I like to start off by looking at the psychological and emotional blocks that the individual has, but also who they're connected to have, and what is the karmic theme, what is the spiritual lesson, because this is a healer channel, again, healing channel. And healing means we get to see a different perspective to our situation. This is why we want to do a more healing style reading, right? I mean, for those of you that have had spiritual blocks, and that's all of us have had spiritual blocks, but those of us that really know what a spiritual block is, it's the same karmic theme that plays out in our life, that makes us feel victimized, that makes us feel not good about ourselves, that makes us again start to view ourselves and the world around us from a more negative state of consciousness. So healing is about integrating the spiritual lesson, and that's in order for us to do that, we have to understand what is our shadow. So I created a deck, the Psychic Soul Healing Oracle deck, and I always start my readings off using my deck. And then I'll look into the actual situation that's at hand, and then we'll see how that spiritual and karmic block integrates into that theme and what you need to do in order to heal your situation. And really how you heal it is integrated. But sometimes again, when I meant we look at the situation, see how it is integrated into it, it's what played a part, like what behaviorisms and habits and core beliefs did you have, Aquarius, and what habits, conditions, and reflexes did the person that you're connected to? Because a lot of times readings are about relationships, whether that's a romantic relationship, whether that's a relationship with people who we have to interact with in work, or just within our environment. And because again, God grows a soul through the people that come into our life. It's again, you have to have an emotional connection. The emotional connection is the spiritual connection, one that's recognized right away, where the person just kind of feels like home. So this card popped out, and this is release attentive and repressed nature. So it's again, if I'm continuously repressing who I truly am. And so maybe you were brought up in a home to believe that you needed to look a certain way, how to act a certain way. But the problem when we repress ourselves, and that's not our true self, we wind up over responding to certain situations. We form certain behaviorisms that are in alignment with the things that we don't want. So a psychological reversal, this is where we may sabotage ourselves. And we actually do sabotage ourselves, because psychological reversal is when we do something unconscious that actually sabotages what we want. And it's on some level, we might believe that we don't deserve it. Again, it's unconscious. So, because if I'm repressing it, it's become part of my subconscious mind. Again, there's suppression, where I'm deliberately stuffing down a feeling or emotion. And I may be doing that smoking, drinking, eating, having sex, doing something outside of me to get my mind away from me. But repressed is I don't even know that that's there anymore. It's become part of me. It's become part of my subconscious mind. And it's become part of my subconscious mind to create survival. So being able to release attentive and repressed nature is not an easy thing. It means that there's deep-seated trauma in the situation, like whether it's this, that you have it, but it was an experience, again, that played out, that created it, which created thought pattern. The thought pattern, again, would be, I'm not worthy. Again, intuition. So again, the answer to healing is always we have to tap into the God part of self. And the God part of self is the spirit part of self. It's a part that you and I are connected to right now, Aquarius. It doesn't logically make sense. It's a feeling, it's a knowing, it's a gut. We all have claircognizance. That's a clear knowing, spiritual knowing. It happens in the now, it happens in the moment. And how do we know that it's intuition and not anxiety? Well, intuition comes on randomly, and there is a call to action right after. It's where intuition tells us to do something after. Anxiety doesn't come on randomly. It's a constant, thinking, and it's like you're thinking about it. And then there's no call to action. So we have to learn how to trust ourselves. Because if we don't even know what we want, a lot of times, if we've repressed our true self for long periods of time, and that will happen if we've been in an abusive relationship. So again, Aquarius, have you been in an abusive relationship? Well, if you have, then the answer is, again, first you have to learn how to trust yourself, because intuition is not so much, again, acting on our intuition when we're not healed as much, because again, your core beliefs need to, again, a lot of times be integrated. But it's about being able to trust ourselves, and that's by first understanding and knowing who we truly are. That's how intuition works really best. When we truly know who we are and what works for us, and when we're honest with it. So maybe you're someone that is very emotional and needs that emotional support, but we're taught that you shouldn't be emotional. So it's then you'd be repressing your true nature, and then being with someone that isn't, again, in alignment with your true self. You're not going to feel at home with the person. Again, we have to, have peace of mind. You have peace of mind when you feel at home with the person, when there's comfort with the person, not when you grew up in survival mode, maybe because a parent was absent, whether there was alcoholism, whether they were going through a divorce, whatever was going on in their life. We learn that our parents were just our parents, but we also learn that we have inherited family karma through either watching our parents be traumatized by whatever unfolded in their life, or how we projected our lives to be. So it's due to our environment. So it's about understanding that we don't come from a logical perspective, because the mind is the reptilian mind, the survival part of our mind. We have to come more from our intuitive part of mind, which is more of the heart and more of the gut. It's a knowing. The gut is a knowing. The heart is to give and receive of love, and that's through your passion. And our intuition is what leads us to our passion in order to release repressed nature, attentive and repressed nature. In order to release that, you can't really release it. You have to transmute it. And so that is the way that you would release it. You'd have to surrender the thought, let go, but that's through transmutation. And that's through, when we have something negative, we turn it into something positive, because the law of attraction doesn't allow for us to take something away without putting something in its place, because the mind doesn't allow. Because the mind says, well, this fake person that I've created is better than no person. So you unconsciously may have made, in repressing who you truly are, has made this false person, like an ego person. And a lot of times we do that because we feel shame. We feel victimized. We feel betrayed, the situations that we've gone through. So in order to heal it, because that's what this is all about, right? It's all about healing. In order to attract the right type of relationship into our life, we have to start somewhere. And the way that we would start is through our intuition. That's through our physical body. You can't be in your mind. And intuition is felt through the body, not our mind. Anxiety is in the mind. Intuition might come on random like a light bulb, but we can feel that also within the gut. It's not, I'm nervous, I'm nervous, I'm nervous, and now I feel sick. It's ding in the head, and at the same time, oh, a butterfly in the stomach. We have to have a really good connection to our body. So again, a lot of times, if we've released attentive repressed nature, we would have to also release anxiety, because there will be, in healing, we would have anxiety. So prudence is really caring about your future, Aquarius. And I think that you've come to a place within your life that you're looking to your future. There's a real caring and want about your life. You're looking back on situations that you've created, and you don't realize why you've created the undesirable life experiences within your life. And the reason why is because you haven't trusted your intuition. You've listened to other people. You might have, again, tried to emulate other people, which a lot of times is what comes with this energy. Again, we need someone to emulate, and it's going to be someone that we perceive as better than us. And we're, again, not observing their whole life. We're observing an area of a person's life. It's, again, stuck. And then that's why we would become stuck, because in creating your life, it's an unfoldment process. And that's through finding yourself and creating yourself. And again, growing yourself is through what you're feeding yourself. And feeding yourself is, what are you reading? What are you investing your time in? What are you investing your energy into? Because it's, again, if I'm interactive in life, I'm never going to be stuck. I'm never going to have a hard time releasing attentive and repressed nature. Never. And I'm never going to have a problem tapping into my true self, my intuition. And the reason why is because our psychic ability really works when we're grounded and in our body and interactive in life, because God works through us, through gut, intuition, inner knowing. And the law of attraction tells us when the student is ready, the teacher appears, that, again, you are a magnet of who and what you're going to attract within your life. So this energy, when we don't heal it, we attract very codependent people, because it's, again, you can't suppress who you are. You know, you can't. And so, because then what'll happen is you'll perceive that everyone else is better than you. And that's really what there is. And you would be stuck. And you would also worry about your future a lot. You would be like, I'm concerned. Of course you're concerned, because you're stuck. And when you're stuck, your third eye doesn't open. So the genius. So it's, again, the genius is, again, that God part of self, the spirit part of self, the intuition, but it's the creative genius. And again, the creative genius starts off by creating themselves. So you may say, well, I don't have anything that I am interested in creating, Aquarius. You may be saying that. You may be saying, I have nothing here to work with. And God says, well, I don't make mistakes. Again, if you're here in the physical form, you're here by my design. So again, so you play a part, and you're down here in the physical form to remember what part you play and what piece of the design that you are. And that's an unfoldment process that the genius does remember, and it's the creative genius. You don't have to be logically smart. The creative genius is intuitive. It's spiritual. It's about even learning how to integrate your wounds in order for there to be a path a lot of times for you to follow. Again, we have to use our wounds a lot of times. If we're down here to learn, we're not separate from God, not separate from love, which is really the genius. The genius part of self is God part of self. It's that supernatural part of self. And if we're down here to learn that we're not separate from this, we can't have this. We have to really release it. And this is an intuitive language that, again, these two energies don't go together. It's the opposite. So it's, again, you have to be able to tap into that intuition in order to become unstuck. And that's what it's really saying, Aquarius, because I feel like there's a lot of you out there that are concerned about work and concerned about your future, but you're basing it on the past. And this is what this tells me. You're stuck because you're based on the past and trying to reflect into the future with not enough knowledge of who you truly are. And if you don't know, then you're not going to be able to tap into your intuition. And really, the genius part of self is that supernatural part of ourselves that is able to put our energy towards something and create it within the physical world over time. It's, again, if you can imagine it, you can create it because God made us in his image. And so the creative genius is not a logical one. You do not have to have a college education. Though it doesn't mean don't get a college education if that's your path. But you have to be able to listen to your intuition to know what your path is. You have to be in your body in order to do this and listening to that creative genius. So now, again, so this is kind of the thing of what the block is. And maybe that's happened because of a past relationship, or for a lot of you Aquarius, because this is going to be general reading, remember that it's different for all of you, but I feel like a lot of you grew up in an environment that taught you how to be and told you to repress certain aspects of yourself. A lot of you also were in relationships that did this later on in life, after you moved out of your parents' home, after you moved out of your caregiver's home. So understand that at any time, we can form a spiritual block. It doesn't matter, and that would be called a karmic contract coming in at a certain age. It's, again, that karmic contract is a spiritual lesson that we need to learn. And a karmic contract, it could even be like a contract that you're holding on to negative belief systems. And maybe because in a past life you were victimized, you were betrayed. Again, we're down here in physical form to learn and to manifest, but you have to say, well, what are we learning? Well, if we're going back to religion and different spiritual dogmatic practices, they will say, again, we've ate from the tree of life, and now we come down here in the physical form and we have to learn all these spiritual lessons from the tree of life, because Adam and Eve ate from the tree of life. And then there's a lot of other spiritual dogmatic practices that teach us why we need to learn the spiritual lessons. But it's to know that you are of consciousness. And the consciousness is really the genius. It's of love. It's of pure love. And so, and the language is intuition, which overrides the physical world. So I want to look to and see what I pick up. I'm going to use a different deck. So it's, again, spiritual union. So this automatically talks about a relationship. So what is happening now, Aquarius, in your life? Because why is this the underlying energy? And so automatically I'm thinking spiritual union. So I have a soulmate twin flame relationship that is a really strong bond. But what happens a lot of times is we cannot listen to our intuition 100% if we have spiritual blocks. And spiritual blocks could be of betrayal, victimization, anything that has happened in a past relationship that now either you or the person that you're connected to feels stuck. And the reason why is, again, because of this energy. The whole reason why we have soulmate and twin flame relationships is to learn about unconditional love. We love this person regardless of what they do. A lot of times we keep taking that person back. We see the good in them. We see the potential. We may a lot of times know that they're bad, but there's this real soul connection. And when there's, again, a real strong soul connection where we, again, want to be with this person in the future, then we become like, almost like we are holding on to something too tight. And that is, we become stuck. And then we're not able to tap into our intuition. So we want to know, again, for some of the spiritual unions are really difficult because there's always a runner, there's always a chaser, there's always seems like there's a timing issue, there's always seems like there's problems, and there are, because both parties have spiritual blocks that manifest as life situations and experiences, and both parties, there is an unconditional deep love and deep connection where the person feels like home, but they're going to trigger the hell out of you. It's, again, because they have all the same blocks that you have. So we want to know why we wouldn't be able to tap into our intuition and why we feel stuck and why it really does create a lot of overstimulation when we're in this type of relationship. So it's, again, and this is positive movement forward. So with you in this relationship, I feel like you're in a good space right now. So the problem would be like almost waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's, again, which would be a manifestation of when we have spiritual blocks. It's, again, destiny. So I feel like both parties right now, Aquarius, have, again, the right intention. So you're connected to someone. So you might have just listened to this video to see where am I in my relationship, even though I know that in my heart that this is my person. And this person knows it too. And what it's showing me is, again, that there's, again, positive movement forward, but I would still think that there would be like spiritual blocks because it's unhealed aspects. But both parties know that it's an important union. And sometimes that is what's it's helpful because it keeps our focus on what we want. Again, and when we have a clear picture of what we want, it's easier to manifest. And again, this is a lot of times why we have soulmate twin flames, because it's, again, when both parties are working on themselves and there's no runner, there's no chaser, there just is, unconditional love is felt. And again, and when we have this bond, and we're actually, the person is our muse, the person is making us step into our true self, then it's so much easier to step into our soul's path, because it's almost like the person's your muse, the person's your inspiration, but they push you because they too are creating themselves. And this is really where healing comes into play, because what it's saying is, it's, again, the spiritual union. And like, as soon as I pulled that card, I actually feel a balance within energy. So Aquarius, you may have felt as if your life was really imbalanced, and it could be because you, again, could be codependent, again, where this would be, I really feel that this is, destiny, but it's getting me out of a stuck situation. Like my intuition is opening because this person has come into my life, and I'm seeing the positive movement forward, and we both care about the future. What saved this from me from not really being a codependent relationship is this genius card. And the reason why is because the genius part of self is the God part of self. So even if you're with a person that's a soulmate twin flame and they're not on the same vibration, they are not doing the same thing that you're doing, then understand if there's unconditional love, they will begin to mirror you, because it's, again, they understand that there's a language. Everybody does. They emulate. And I wanted to pick up two cards that flew out before. One was new beginnings and transformation. So I don't know if you saw that two cards fell out. And so again, they were, new beginnings and transformations, which again is what I'm saying, which is the genius part of self. Now, as long as both parties are growing at the same time, and it's, again, if both parties are working their own life at the same time, and working your own life would be, whatever you're feeding that's growing you individually. That would be not just your job, your hobbies, your interests, your relationships, all that. And then because there's a life for you, and there's a life for your person, and then there's a life together. Otherwise, what I would see is that, again, the same thing kind of repeating, which would be these codependent relationships. So I want to see now if there's a person, again, new beginnings. So the person coming into your life, they may already be in your life, Aquarius. I'm not sure, but let's take a look and see what, if they're in your life, what would be the message. And this is only for the Aquariuses, obviously, that are in a relationship, and it's relatively new. And when I say relatively new, a year to me is new. A year and a half to me is new. And the reason why is because relationships take a really long time to unfold. The real ones, soulmate twin flames, they do. It's like, because they're not easy. So there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of up down. But you're dealing with people that have trauma, and the way that the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, helps us transmute that negative energy, our own spiritual blocks, is to bring, again, the people that we love, people that we love into our life. Again, that we're going to learn to love, I should say, or again, families that we're brought up into. So again, relationships are a huge part of it. So if you're in a relationship, playfulness, laughter is the best therapy. Have some fun together. And remember, love is the greatest healer. So this is really saying, too, that the way that you're able to transmute those spiritual triggers a lot of times is not just by integrating your own wounds, but it's learning to play together. Because people that have spiritual wounds, they have intimacy problems, trust problems. And over time, what happens is it affects the intimacy of the relationship. That's the sexual part. That's the trust part. That's the closeness. That's the warmth. That's the emotional intimacy. The way that you continue to have a very intimate type of relationship, one that's built on trust, is you have to play together, do things together, because you're continuously learning how to be a team, how to compromise, how to put yourself in the other person's shoes, how to think about the other person. As human beings that have gone through trauma, we all tend to look at our own needs a lot more than we look at anyone else's needs. It's just a sidetrack of trauma. We know that narcissist behavior, we know, is deep-seated wounding. So, and we all tend to have a little bit of that. Obviously, people that have not done any healing have a lot more of it, which means that they're not awake, that they're not present. And so, again, repeating karmic issues is, again, not an easy thing, but we can learn through playing together. We can learn through learning how to compromise, how to listen to each other, how to, it's again, what happens is that relationships go so fast and it becomes too physical too fast, and there's not enough of a connection. So let's see what the soul path, again, soul's, not soul's path, but the soul lesson, again, might be past life lesson, karmic lesson, called all different things. Let's see. The reunion, soul recognition, collaboration, partnership, friendship, and this is exactly what I was saying. Again, about the playfulness. Whoop, you saw that? About the playfulness. It's again, soul. This is a soulmate twin flame relationship. The way that you transmute those karmic and spiritual blocks is through creating something, doing something together. It's again something of a higher purpose a lot of times. And that's why they're saying soul recognition is obviously soul mate, twin flame. It's again, you feel like home. Collaboration helps us learn the spiritual lessons that we didn't learn growing up. Again, if you grew up in an imbalanced home where there was one parent and maybe that parent was always angry because there was never enough money, or maybe their relationship was always bad, whatever was going on, this isn't a blame game. What this is that unconsciously we form behaviorisms and habits that are sabotaging to us because of what has happened in our parent and our ancestral lineage a lot of times. So it's about understanding what the shadow aspect of the situation is. And in this one, it's that there's been constant problems within relationships because people haven't been their true self. And so there's a soulmate relationship that's either about to happen, Aquarius, did happen, or has already happened. And so it already happened, is going to happen. You know, again, you understand either past, present, future. And so it's again, because energy is fluid. And so you have an opportunity now to make things different. Now, because without a plan, you're going to either do nothing or you're going to act the same way that you always acted in, which is what they're saying, don't do. It means that, again, this time we're going to act on the genius part of self, which is the God part of self. And that's through listening to our intuition. I don't know where that card is, but it's somewhere. Listen to our intuition about our soulmate, twin flame, and understand that they are supposed to be in our life. That's why there is a deep draw. That's why the person doesn't comfort, but it doesn't mean that there aren't spiritual karmic blocks. You can call this a karmic mate. You can call it a soulmate, because soulmates teach lessons too, just different levels. Twin flames are real lessons. And they're hard lessons. Usually one's about self-love. So it's again, new beginning. We have to again integrate the spiritual lesson of self-love in order really to transform the situation. We have to care about our own future. And so in order to become unstuck, otherwise spiritual block will keep us stuck. When we know that a soul's union, again, and knowing is, this is the intuition card that I was looking for before, but the intuition, when we know we have a soulmate, twin flame, relationship and that they're our destiny. Again, the positive movement ahead is all about being playful with each other. It's all about learning how to collaborate and how to be a real friend and partner, because that's how intimacy is created. Otherwise, the karmic lesson of betrayal and victimization will keep happening, because without the friendship, there's again no intimacy, and then things are just kind of based on lust and appearance and outside, which is what the problem has been in the past, which is why people tend to stay stuck and they stay on such a surface level. So they do care about their future, where they are like, I want a relationship, but I just don't see it happening. So it's by by creating yourself again. And that only happens by, we have to release this first. That's why this was the first card out. We have to become our true self, so that we can again attract what it is that we're trying to do. Now, I hope that's helpful. Let me know. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and you might win a free psychic reading. All you have to do is write the word healer in the description box. I'm going to be doing my first raffle, and I saw one person has already done it. So I'm just saying, if you want to be part of that, you got to put your name in the description box. And I'm going to be doing that by, well, today's the 9th and it is Friday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So by the 10th, 11th, 12th, by the 12th of September, I'm going to be doing my first raffle. So again, all you have to do is 3 simple things, which is like, subscribe, and comment. Comment the word healer, and you may be part of my ongoing, I don't want to call it a raffle, but you may win a free psychic reading. And so, what else was I going to say? I think that's about it. Until next time, be true to you, Aquarius. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.